So today we'll discuss about AWS S3. S3 stands for Simple Storage Service. Say Simple Storage Service is one of the storage type that storage comes under object level storage. Okay, so now like here in the AWS we have EBS. EBS provides block storage. EFS is a file system, but S3 comes under object level storage. Okay, so what is that level of object is each and every file in the object, like in the S3 we can access and we can upload the files also as the objects. But when we go for the EBS, it's a complete block. Say suppose we have 30 GB, then the 30 GB is the complete one block. But here each and every file directory is one object kind of thing in the S3 bucket. Okay, so normally in the Linux we have the folders, and in the like Linux, sorry, we have the directories. In Windows we have the folders, but in the S3 we are going to keep the buckets. So one container kind of thing. Like in order to store those objects, we are using the bucket kind of thing. So in the bucket again we can have the multiple folders. All those we are going to give. And the bucket name should be unique. It's not only at the account level. So where it is unique, at the AWS level, if someone already installed the bucket, then we don't get the same bucket name. Okay, so with that, what is going to happen is we need to create another bucket. We need to create. If already someone created the bucket, again we can't create with the same name. Okay, so we need to give with the another name itself. Okay, then we are going to get the object. For each and every object we are getting a unique URL also. We are getting for the each and every object we are getting a unique URL. Okay, so that's URL like we are going to store in the object. One file we are going to store in the one file. We are going to store in the like we are going to store in the like a file is called as bucket. In the bucket again, what are the files we are keeping? For each and every file will get like a one meta information or one URL. That is called as objects. Means here the files are going to store as the objects. And every object will get a unique key. Every object will get the unique key. And in the initial days, AWS has given as a global kind of service, but now they made it region itself. Okay, so now the buckets have been created in the region. Okay, and we have the different storage classes. Like we have the different plans kind of thing. We have the storage classes. What are the AWS S3 storage classes mandatory? Like we need to have an idea. And even to the client also, we need to suggest the best storage class. And we have the ACLs and policies. In order to access control, we are going to use the ACLs or policies. Okay, so what are those ACLs and policies also we'll discuss. So we can control to whom we can give the permissions, all those we can give. So what is the S3 is? S3 stands for Simple Storage Service, and most of our like unstructured data. So what type of data we are going to keep in the S3 we'll discuss. Okay, so now here what type of data we are going to keep in the S3 is like we have media kind of data. So what is the media? That media may be like images, videos, those are comes under media. Then unstructured data. Unstructured data means it's maybe flat files. We have CSV kind of files, okay, XML, JSON, okay, all those kind of unstructured data also we are going to keep in S3 bucket. Then what we are going to keep is logs also. Okay, all the logs also we are going to store. Okay, so then we are going to store even the archive kind of data. Then static website contents also we can keep. Static website contents also we can keep in the in the S3 bucket we can keep. That static websites also we are going to keep in the S3 websites, like we are going to keep. So these all the things we are going to store in the S3 bucket depends upon our requirement. Then any idea what is the limitation we have to store the S3 bucket? Okay. So then for the bucket, there is no limitation. That means you can keep the infinity kind of data also we can keep, but for one file, okay. So for the one file, the size of it is for the one file, the size of it is 5 TB. Okay. So but if you have 5 TB kind more data also, what we can do? If you have 5 TB more data also, what we can do? So we can keep that one into multiple files we can keep. That means we can split that into multiple files. Even we have the multiple missions also. Okay, sir, multiple like files we can keep, but one file size is 5 TB. But say suppose if I have 4 TB files into 5, can I have in the same bucket or not?
Yes, sir.
Yes, we can have that 5 TB into 5 buckets we can have in the same bucket we can have. That means it's a 20 TB, but one file size is not exceeding 5 TB. Some people will get confused whether that is related to bucket. Bucket size, it's almost there is no limitation. And we are in the free account, right? In the free account, 5 GB is free. Okay. So if you use additionally, what we need to do? We need to pay the money. Okay. So that means how much they're giving at free of cost? 5 GB. But if you are using for the commercial purpose, there is no limit. Depends upon your data, even petabyte kind of data also some companies are going to keep in that. Petabyte kind of data also they're going to keep in the S3 buckets. Okay. So then we have the different types of the data. So those data we are calling as, so we have the different type of data, right? So what is that? Like we have the storage classes. What are the storage classes also we'll discuss. And creating the bucket from the S3, we just go to S3 bucket and create a bucket name. Okay. So then we need to give the unique bucket name. Okay. Then we need to set the permissions, versioning, all these also we'll set, but we'll discuss all this. Or even from the command line also we can discuss. And once you create the bucket, we can upload the buckets. Okay. So we are using WinSCP kind of tool also to upload the files to Linux. Okay. In the same way, to upload the data into bucket also, we can use those that tool, same tool we can use. Okay. So it's not only from the upload the data, downloads, all those also we can do. And even we can do the sync also. And we'll discuss this S3 bucket permissions also we'll discuss. And we have the different type of storage classes we have. Okay. By default, if you don't choose anything, we are getting the storage class type is standard. Okay. So here we have the different storage classes. What are those storage classes we'll discuss? So one is standard. Second one is standard infrequent access. One zone infrequent access. Glacier. Glacier deep archive. Then we have like even outpost kind of things also. Okay. So in the Glacier, we have instant retrieval also we have. So we have the different type of. So we'll discuss more details about these S3 storage classes. So standard and express one zone also we have, and standard infrequent access, one zone infrequent access, Glacier, Glacier deep archive. Depends upon the client requirement of what is the purpose is going to use the S3 bucket. According to that, we need to choose these classes. According to that, we need to choose these classes we need to install. Okay, and if you enable versioning, what is the advantage also we'll discuss. We'll discuss lifecycle policies also. These all mandatory interview questions also. Then Coming to static website, normally we have Google having Google Drive or Microsoft having OneDrive, Apple having iCloud. Most of them comes under object level storage itself. Okay, so everyone are using Google Drive or Microsoft OneDrive, or iPhone users are using iCloud. But additional to this, what S3 can do is S3 can do static website hosting also can be done. So what S3 can be done is static website hosting. Normally, in order to host our website static, we required web servers. We required. Okay, so we required Nginx, IAS, or Apache kind of web servers we required. But if I go for the S3 bucket, what we can do is we can choose the S3 bucket static websites we can host. Okay, so that comes under S3. If I use for the static web servers, that comes under serverless kind of things. What is the advantage of serverless? What is the advantage of serverless? Without requiring a single server also, we can deploy a high scalable a website, but it's not a dynamic web-based application. It's a, we can deploy
Static website.
static websites only we can deploy. It's not the dynamic websites, we can't host in that. Okay, so then say here we can deploy the static websites using S3 bucket. Okay, so that is also one of the advantage. And for the dynamic applications, if we want to host, what we are using, say for the serverless dynamic applications, what we are using. So in order to run that business logic, we are going to use the Lambda. So what is the purpose of Lambda we are using? For the dynamic web-based applications to run that business logic, we are using the Lambda. And for the static website hosting, we are using S3 buckets we are using. So S3 buckets we are using for that. Okay. And we'll discuss how to host a static website also using the S3 bucket we'll discuss. And if you enable logging and monitoring to your S3 bucket, who are trying to access that bucket, all those also we can perform. And we have some metrics also, not CloudWatch level, advanced level metrics, but we have the basic metrics also we can use. And all the configuration changes, what happened also, we can track it. All those configuration changes, all these also we can track it from the S3 buckets. 1 second. Okay, so now here, say here we have some advanced S3 features also. Like in the data warehousing kind of solutions, what data warehousing will do is, we have unstructured data. Say we have a lot of unstructured data we have. So that's we need to store it into a structured database like maybe SQL. That's all called as data warehousing kind of thing. Then for the users, what is the source we are giving is S3 as our source we are giving. Then what the S3, like some millions of people are going to upload the data to S3. Then what event notification will do is, event notification can identify, okay, new data came, maybe someone uploaded the data, then it can trigger a Lambda or SQS, SNS, or it can process through Glue, some data warehousing operations also it can perform. Okay, so when that event notification is triggering, if some new data has been uploaded or new data has been deleted, okay, so what is the advantage of the S3 event notification is some millions of users are uploading some millions of files. That's all manually processing is not possible. Then who will take care from the AWS wise? In the S3, we have the event notification. Okay. So then S3 select, we can use the queries on the S3 objects also. We can process the data also. Okay. And pre-signed URLs is only one time I'm going to give the access, or scheduled time also I can specify. That means I want to give the access to object only between 3 to 4 I want to give to the users. Okay. Or only one time access I want to give. In that use case, what is the feature we are using of S3? Pre-signed URL. Okay. So what is the advantage of pre-signed URL? Like one-time access I want to give, or schedule access I want to give. At that use case, I'm going to use the pre-signed URL I'm going to use. Pre-signed URL I'm going to use. Then what is the meaning of replication? Like I uploaded the data. Previously, I said it's a global kind of service. Now S3 is a regional service now. Like I have uploaded the data. The same data I want to replicate to other regions. Okay. So even we can enable cross-region replication also we can enable. What is the advantage of cross-region replication? Like even if the complete data is lost also in one region, the data is available in the data
Another
is
region.
available in the another
Another
region.
region.
That's the reason for the important or critical data. It's mandatory. We need to set up. It's mandatory. We need to set up the cross-region replications. Also, we need to set up. Okay. Then for the important data, so we can lock it also. What is going to happen if I log my data is write once, read many. So write means read many means like we are going to write only one time, but I don't want to allow others to write that. I want to display this mandatory message to everyone. If that is tampered or modified, I can't confirm my data. Then I'm going to set up locking that object. So if I lock that object, what is going to happen? Others can't write it. Okay. So what is the advantage is only what is the data I have written that only everyone can see. Okay, so by enabling object locking, what's happening? By enabling the object locking, what's happening? Others can't access that data. Others can't access the data we can't perform. Okay, so then here we have one more best practice is there. Always we need to enable versioning also. Okay, what is the advantage of the versioning is I'm at version 1, I have modified some changes, then it keep both version 1.1, 1.2, and my latest updated version is 1.2. And if any of the changes has been performed on 1.2, what is going to happen is like we can revert back to 1.1. Even in the critical versions kind of environment, it's always recommended to enable versioning also. So what is the advantage of enabling the versioning? Even if the current version of the data we lost, we can move to
Stable version.
we can move to at least the saved version we can go. Okay, so that is the advantage of enabling the versioning. For the critical data, it's mandatory. We need to enable the versioning also. For the critical data, it's mandatory to enable the versioning. And what is the meaning of multi-factor authentication? Delete also. Like if someone want to delete the data, I'm going to verify multi-factor authentication also. Like maybe with the authenticator app like this, I'm going to send the notification that's like gives my protection to my data from the unauthorized access. If someone tries to delete the data also, I'm going to get like a security also. And what are those lifecycle policies also we'll discuss. And by default, whenever we uploading the data, say suppose from my laptop, I uploaded my data that is having lot of sensitive details. It's going to travel over the internet. Then I have lot of sensitive details in that. Then if I enable encryption, what is going to happen is the data is going to be secured. The data is going to be encrypted because, okay, so if we don't enable the encryption, that's travel over the internet, anyone can get. By default, we are getting the encryption also, But additional to this, we can configure our own encryptions also. We can configure. What are those also? We'll discuss. So how we can enable those encryptions, all those also. We'll discuss on that. Okay. Then unnecessarily by default, your public is private, but don't make that public okay buckets unless you have any usage. Okay. So unnecessarily don't make public buckets. And even for any object, not only for S3, always tagging of the objects or buckets or like any of the resources is the one of the best practice in the AWS. Okay, that is one of the best practice we can use. So these are all the best practices, but we discuss about the storage class, right? So storage class, okay, so the pricing, the access, how many days we need to keep, high availability, all those depends upon the storage class. Okay, so for the client, definitely we should suggest the best storage class. And if I don't choose any of the storage class, okay, so by default we are getting standard itself. Okay, so now here if you see which type of data use case we are using, so which type of data we are going to keep. Which type of data we are going to keep in the S3. So most of the frequently accessed data, that means some hundreds or millions of people are frequently accessing that data. Okay, so that kind of data if you have, say I'll tell one use case, Amazon Prime uploaded a movie like today itself, then millions of people will access that movie or not. In this, we have that movie media content, right? That media content is stored in that media content is stored in the S3 bucket. In that S3 bucket, like millions of people are going to access. Okay, then better to choose S3 standard kind of thing. I'm telling one example. Means millions of people are accessing that, are frequently access data. We are going to keep in
S3 standard.
the S3 standard we are going to use, and retrieval time is very, very immediate, and even it's a high availability. So then if I upload this to one zone, okay, so in how many locations they're going to replicate this is, they're going to replicate this into 3 locations they're going to replicate, not mandatory 3, minimum 3, but in that I have 6 zones, then they're going to replicate this into 6 zones. If I choose the standard in the zone, sorry, in the region, how many zones we have in all those locations, AWS is going to replicate. What is the advantage? What is the advantage with that?
Data replication.
The
High
zone,
availability.
even one zone goes down, the solution is
Available
highly
across the
available
region.
to the users. But across the cross region, what we need to set up?
Replication.
Yeah, cross region replication we need to enable on the bucket level. Cross region replication we need to enable. Okay, so then here we have one more, we'll discuss S3 intelligent tiering also. Then we have one more tier is S3 standard IA. IA stands for infrequent access. What is the concept of infrequent access is I kept my data, but that's not going to be accessed very frequently. Okay, so that means infrequent access, that's maybe for monthly, twice or once only I'll access. That kind of data I'm going to keep in the S3 infrequent access. It's little cheaper than
S3 standard.
standard. It's cheaper than standard. Okay, so but like minimum storage duration is how much?
30 days.
30 days. What is this minimum storage duration? I will explain. For the standard, we don't have this constraint. If you keep for 1 hour, for that 1 hour, you need to pay the money. But if I use this one minimum storage duration is 30 days. What is going to happen is, even if you keep for only 4 days also, you need to pay the money for
30 days.
30 days. You need to pay the money for the 30 days, you need to pay the money. So this is also one of the constraints we need to consider before choosing those storage classes. Okay. So then S3 one zone infrequent access. In the one zone infrequent access, what is going to happen is we are going to keep the data only in the one zone itself. That's not that much critical data. Is not that much critical data. Then what we are trying to do? We are going to keep it in. We are going to keep it in.
Standard IA.
Single availability zone.
Yeah, one zone IA. One zone IA.
IA.
Then it's not going to replicate in 3 or 6 zones unnecessarily. It's not replicating. Okay, so with that we can reduce the.
Cost.
Yeah, we can reduce the cost also. Okay, so that is one of the advantage. But risk is if the zone is down,
Will not be
again
able
it's
to
a
access
single
that.
point of crash. That's the reason it's not offering 99.99%. They're offering only 99.5% itself. And here also we have the minimum duration 30 days. Then here in the Glacier, we have Glacier instant retrieval and flexible retrieval. Then we have deep archive. Okay, so what is this meaning is we have a lot of, say suppose some of the companies having 10 years old data also or 100 years old data also they have. That's called as archive kind of data. Previously, like we used to keep that archive kind of data in the like tape kind of devices. Previously, we used to keep those in the tape kind of devices. Now, like we are going to keep them in the Glacier. Like it's cheaper, but not for the frequent kind of data. So frequently used data we shouldn't keep in the Glacier. Say, I have my 10 years or 30 years old data also. I want to upload that in my S3. Whenever I want to use it. Okay, so such kind of data we are going to keep it in.
Glacier.
In the Glacier, we are going to keep it. I hope you got it right. Okay. If I go for Glacier, one of the problem with the deep archive is it may be huge data. So some of the companies having 40 to 100 years old data also. That's maybe in the papers. What they will do is they may scan that and they're uploading that data. Okay. So at that moment, what's happening? They have the huge data they have, and we are going to store that data in the. We are going to store that data in the
Deep
Glacier.
in the Glacier, but you want immediate retrieval, then we are going to store in instant retrieval. Okay, so but if I go for a deep archive, it's for long term we are going to keep, but immediately we can't retrieve the data. In the deep archive, it takes even 12 to 24 hours also. It will take 12 to 24 hours also it may take. And if I go for the flexible retrieval, maybe 1 hour it takes. Okay, say minutes to hours we can retrieve. But there is a minimum duration also. If I go for a deep archive, what is the advantage is that's the lowest price from the AWS. But what is the disadvantage is like a retrieval time will take minimum 12 hours to 24 because they're going to archive that lot of compression is happening. Then it takes obviously more time to retrieve that data. Okay. Sure. Any doubts on this? Any doubts? Okay, so then their outpost or something also they have added one more also. I think we didn't discuss this one. Intelligent tiring. So now we don't know which pattern we need to choose. And even the data also is moving between the different types. Then you suggest them to go for intelligent tiring. So at that moment, you can go for the intelligent tiring. You can suggest. You don't know the patterns and the data also is keep on changing. Okay, so then depends upon the data and the retrievals. AWS itself automatically will choose that pattern. Okay, so then we have lifecycle policies are very, very important. Say, what is the meaning of lifecycle policy is, if you plan the lifecycle policies in a better way, even we can reduce the cost also for our S3 buckets data. What we can do with the lifecycle policy is, we can move the storage class from one storage class to another storage class by using the lifecycle policy. I'll tell one example, try to understand. Again, I took the example of Amazon Prime itself. Have one movie, say that movie is going to be accessed very frequently in the initial days, like maybe 2 months, 3 months. Then I'm going to keep that one in standard. After 6 months or 1 year, no one is accessing that movie. Then I'm going to keep into another storage class. After 10 years, no one are watching that movie. Then I'm going to keep that into another class. Okay, so like this here, we are moving the same bucket, but that object class we are moving from one storage class to another storage class. If I keep the same bucket for 10 years in the same storage class, what is the problem is happening for us? The price is very high. The price is very high. In order to avoid that one, we are going to keep that bucket into like storage classes. We are modifying as per our requirements. These days remain in this storage class. After this, automatically move to another storage class. Like this, we can use. That is the main advantage of using storage classes. And one more thing, what we can do for the storage class is expiration of the objects also we can do. What is the meaning is after 10 years, I want to delete that movie. I don't want to display that. Then I'm going to choose the
Delete.
expiration also.
Correct.
That means either transition to one storage class to another storage class I can do, or expiration also I can do from one storage class to another storage class. So that is the main advantage of S3 lifecycle policies. So what is the main advantage of S3 lifecycle policies?
So that means we can set the rules.
Yeah, we can set the rules.
Okay.
Yeah, so we can set the rules, and it's say suppose we have millions of objects also. We may forget to set up those, but if you configure these, either to the all objects or particular to the object level also we can configure. Then automatically we can move from one storage class to another storage class, or
expiration.
Yeah, expiration also we can perform. Okay, so expiration also we can perform. That is the main advantage of using
storage
classes. And at the finally, after 10 years or after like 1 year, depends upon your objects, we can choose the
storage class.
Like storage, these also we can choose. Okay. Yeah, any doubts on this? So here, if you come to AWS documentation, there is one more type also they have added.
Sir, one doubt.
Yeah.
So this life cycle policies, the purpose is served by intelligent tiring also.
But intelligent tiering you are asking, right?
Yes, it also changes the.
That's not we are keeping the control, right?
Yes, it is dynamic
That
and
automatically it's taking.
okay.
And deletion, all those also not possible. Okay. So compared to that, storage classes are recommended to choose. Okay. So now here it depends upon like general purpose or unknown or like even the patterns also, data also we don't know. Then better to choose like uh, you don't know how much users are accessing all that. Then infrequent access, we have two types. Okay. So one is standard infrequent access, one zone infrequent access. And in the general purpose, we have S3 standard. And if you have unknown patterns, then this. Then even archive wise, okay, say Glacier instant retrieval, flexible retrieval, deep archive. And the outpost or those also we can keep. And there is one more high performance they given express one zone also. This is the new storage class type they have added. Okay, so but this is also they're going to keep in one zone. Okay, so this cheaper also. Okay, so it's but only the risk is
Single point of.
so it's only one zone they're going to replicate the data. In the one zone, they're going to replicate the data also. Okay, so now here we'll discuss the mandatory, like we need to able to explain what are the storage classes we have. So standard,
Standard IA,
express,
one zone,
one zone, standard,
IA,
infrequent access. Then we have one zone infrequent access,
deep archive,
intelligent,
tiring,
tiring.
glacier,
In the glacier again we have
instant retrieval,
glacier like instant retrieval, flexible retrieval,
deep archive,
deep archive. Which is the cheaper among all these?
deep archive,
close.
Yeah. So which is expensive?
Standard,
Standard. Okay. The standard is, but for the critical data is recommended. If not that much critical and you want performance, then express one zone is also is better. They spend some time on the storage classes and the pricing. Most of the S3 bucket pricing, a lot of people may assume only the size of that, but that's not correct. The S3 bucket price is depends upon how much retrievals also is going to happen. That means I access the data for multiple times. So millions of people access my data. Only one time I access my data. Definitely there would be the difference. Definitely there would be the difference between one time they access the data and multiple times they access the data. So it depends upon our requirement. Definitely we need to say, suppose if more people are going to access that data, we need to pay more money. Okay. So then like here depends upon the data also, they're going to charge the money per GB, they're going to charge this much money. And depends upon the intelligent tiering also, like the prices changes from storage class to another storage class they're going to change. Okay, it's not only the size of the data. Okay, so how many times it requested and how much data has been transferred from the S3 also. Okay, so we are going to charge the money. Okay, so that means for the request also they're going to charge the money. For this 1,000 requests, they're charging some money for that. Okay, so it depends upon that. We are going to collect the money also for the charges. And one more is there are some classes minimum days you need to keep. Even if you don't keep also, what we need to do?
You need to pay.
Yeah, we need to pay for that. Okay, so these are all the three things mostly we need to consider for the pricing. Okay, so we need to calculate also like our pricing also we can calculate. Just try to spend for easy to also in the same way they given the pricing calculator also. So these all like at the time of estimations, all that this would be useful for us. Okay. So life cycle policy, we have two types of policies. One is transition. Okay. Second one is expire. In this, we are setting up one policy like from S3 standard to S3 in like infrequent access, I'm transferring. Then S3 infrequent access to Glacier, I'm going to transfer after 90 days. And after 90 days, I want to expire or delete that object. Then I'm going to choose the expire action. Like this here, we are going to choose. So how to apply these lifecycle policies also we'll discuss. Either to one particular object we can choose or to all the objects also we can choose. Okay, so if you don't know your how they're going to access the data, all that, if you have unpredictable access patterns, then better to choose the intelligent tiering. Okay, and for the backups for all those, previously we used to use the tape devices because those are the cheaper. But from the AWS wise, deep archive is the cheaper. Okay, and object locking also is recommended. The logs also after 60 days, 90 days, we may not access that. Then we are going to store that one in the Glacier after 30 days. Then after 365 days, we are going to remove those logs also. Okay, then additional to this, all this, what we can do with the S3 bucket is we can deploy the S3 also, like sorry, static website also we can host on the S3. Then once we create the bucket, okay, say it's mandatory, we need to give public access to your bucket. Say when you want to make it a bucket as a S3, what we need to do is we need to keep the bucket as public itself we need to keep. Means we can't keep the private because people want to access that as the website kind of thing. Okay, so then one we need to upload the files. Which type of files we need to upload? Say here we'll go for any of the website. Normally, which type of files we have in the website folder is, say here we have one directory called sparing. Say in this we have the CSS, then images, JS, then we have the HTML pages, and our home page is which file? Which page is home page?
Index.
Index.html is our mostly our home page. Most of the web servers will recognize the index.html like that. We are going to keep. Okay, then we need to upload all this data. Say here, and one more file, what it required is error.html also is required. That is a global error page also. That means whenever you're keeping the data, you can ask your designer to design one error.html also, images, CSS. Okay, all these we are going to keep. All these data we are going to upload to S3. Then in the properties of the bucket, what we need to do is we need to enable static website hosting need to be enabled. Then index document is index.html. Error document is error.html. If you don't have error document, you give index.html itself as your error document also. Then what's happening is if any error message comes, it's going to redirect to that index page itself. You try to redirect to index page itself instead of displaying the
error.html.
Okay, so that's we can choose. Okay, then once we enable the static website, okay, still we don't get, we need one bucket policy we need to enable. So we need to enable it's documented from the AWS wise by default. Like we are not giving the public read access. Okay, so for all the objects inside the bucket. So what is this meaning is that my website bucket slash tar in that bucket, whatever the objects we have to all those objects, we are giving.
Quick access.
Yeah, we are giving the public read for the website, like we are allowing that get objects, all those we are giving the permissions. Okay, so if we don't apply this policy, your objects, like even if you make it public also, your website is not hosted. Your website has been not hosted. Okay, so like this, we can host the website. What is the main advantage of S3 for using for the static websites is it can handle even millions of requests. But what is the challenge? If the millions of people are access that data, like maybe that images, style sheets, all that is going to travel or not, transfer or not. For all that retrievals also, AWS is going to charge. Okay, but in the normal environment, what we need to do is, like we need to keep high scalable, like web servers we need to keep, all those need to be auto scaled and attached to
Balancer.
load balancer. So compared to that, S3 is very simple also. And high availability, all that also taken care by
AWS.
AWS itself. So that is the reason some of the companies for the static website hosting, they're keeping their data in the
Buckets.
S3 buckets itself. They're going to keep the data. Okay.
So here, what is this principal parameter on star here? Can you?
Principle, like say here, yeah. So suppose here we have this IAM policy or this is the S3 policy. Okay, in this S3 policy, like here we have uh, like what are the permissions we want to give, all those we need to describe. Say here we have the like SID is, that is one of the ID, like what the permissions we want to give. Then second one we are going to give is effect, either allow or Denise kind of thing. Okay. Then principle is like maybe to the AWS account or user role, like that. So now here star means for everyone we are going to give the permissions.
Okay.
And we have the read, write kind of objects like that. Get object, put object, like this here we have. Those all the operations we can perform on the S3 level. And resource is our bucket and slash star replace any object in that bucket. That means all the images, all the style sheets, JavaScript files, HTML files, everything we are keeping.
Understood.
Yeah. So what is the meaning of principle is to the AWS account or user role or service. What is that meaning of star is?
So
For
giving
everyone we are going to
privileges.
give that.
Okay.
Okay. So then once we make it S3 bucket will give an endpoint URL, and that endpoint URL we are going to access. Okay. So one S3 endpoint URL we are getting, but here the problem is that is not user friendly URL. Okay, so we are getting one long URL. Okay, so that's little tough to remember. But what we want is, say suppose here if we want to access Cricinfo, okay, ESPN Cricinfo is easy to remember or not for us? Okay, otherwise google.com, instagram.com. Okay, so here we have the different websites. Okay, so then that websites, like if you have the easy URLs, those are like easy to remember. And those URLs, what we are doing is we are getting from the domain register. Okay, say any examples of domain registers, you know?
GoDaddy.
GoDaddy. So GoDaddy is one of the leading. Then even we have huge names we have, or we have Google also is providing. Now AWS also we can buy the domains. In AWS also we can buy the domains. That means AWS also nowadays can become our domain register. But lot of companies are using GoDaddy. Then we purchase one domain. Okay, so now here I have assume for CloudSoftSol, we have one domain called cloudsoftSol.com. Or I have one more domain, nriglobe.com. So in this, we are going to keep our data. So that's it's a static website. Then I kept the data in the S3 bucket. That's whenever we hit that S3 endpoint URL is not user friendly, that need to be redirect to that S3 endpoint URL. This service is called as, say, which service is responsible to do this kind of redirection?
DNS.
DNS servers. Okay, so then I want a DNS server in order to perform these operations. Again, I can't ask my company to keep the DNS locally. Then AWS itself is providing that DNS service. Those are called as Route 53. Okay, so what exactly the meaning of Route 53? The Route 53 is the AWS DNS service. In order to host our websites, in that AWS have lot of options. Okay, so I'll tell some different options we have. Okay, so I have used as of now S3 bucket for the static website, or I may keep one web server like Nginx, IAS, Apache kind of web server. Then I have used maybe a load balancer, or I may use an application server, or I may use a Lambda, or I may use Kubernetes, EKS, whatever it may be. I hosted my application in any of these services. I got a endpoint URL. What is the problem with that endpoint URL? It's not a user friendly. I can't give to that. I don't get much business. Okay, so then we need a user friendly URLs. If someone click on the domain name, it need to resolve to this endpoint. Okay, so that resolution is going to happen through
Route 53.
Route 53. What exactly that Route 53 is doing for us?
It's DNS routing to our S3.
Yeah, it's going to provide a DNS. Before going for DNS, first, how a DNS works, we require a knowledge. Okay, so first we require a knowledge on how DNS works. So
it's a kind of mapping, right? So DNS and the
mapping in the internet wise. Okay, so then here what is the meaning of DNS is, if I type the domain name, it need to resolve to IP address. Okay, so in the reverse, if I type IP address, it need to resolve to domain name also. If I type the domain name, it resolving to that IP address is called as a forward lookup. But when the initially domain DNS came, that technically that IP address only why we use is we have the physical servers only on those days. But in the cloud, we can use S3 buckets, we can use Lambda, we can use load balancers, Kubernetes. Okay, so now those are supported. But here traditionally we are calling domain name to IP address. So that's called as forward lookup. IP address to domain name is called as reverse lookup. And DNS is not only in the internet also, in the local computers also, in the networking. Okay, I'll have the host name. If I type the host name, if it is resolved to IP address, that's I'm calling as forward lookup. Okay, say what is reverse lookup?
So if we type IP address, it resolves host name.
Host name. In the local environment, we don't have the internet. We have the servers. That host name to IP address is called as forward lookup, and IP address to host name is called as reverse
Reverse
lookup. That is also the responsibility of the DNS. In the last 23 years, almost the World Wide Web came like 99, like that. Okay. So, and like a lot of boom also came for the like a World Wide Web kind of companies. Okay, so that boom has been like gone in the 2001. The 2001 Twin Tower like uh, 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 like Twin Tower Act that incident. What happened is like most of the companies or e-commerce. Those are the companies have been like closed because the market is very down. Almost it took 10 years to rise that. From 2010 onwards, it started. Okay, so if 2000 that one incident may not happen, then like we may be very advanced kind of things. But lot of companies has been closed. A lot of startups used to come because in 98, 99 itself, web-based technologies has been hit. Everyone also started the products and everyone making the products. Only large-scale companies has been sustained for the 10 years. But 2010 onwards, lot of revolutionary came into the IT, and even AWS and Azure GCP also helped to their customers in order to scale up their applications. Okay, so that's only previously only large scale companies only used to use all this technology. But most of the things what we have in the AWS Azure, those are not the new things to the IT. People having, but only very limited companies only have that technology and limited scalability. But today in the market, what's happening is millions of people are accessing those applications. That scalability every application need to meet. That's like very easy or automation is possible with the cloud. That automation is done by the cloud. Okay. Yeah. Any doubts on this?
No, sir.
So then coming to the S3 itself, we have some more things are there. What is the S3 versioning? So if I enable the S3 versioning, what is the main advantage is if any of the modifications of the objects have been stored, it is storing with the newer version. Still the older version also is going to preserve. So with this, what is the advantage is like even if the existing or latest version has been corrupted, we can revert back to that older version. So by enabling the versioning, we can revert back to the older version. We can revert back. So that is the main advantage of using
versioning.
yeah, versioning. That is the main advantage. Okay, then like here one more thing is there. Encryptions. I'll explain all the encryptions here. The encryptions is always at the time of transfer also you need to have the encryption. And once that object stored in the AWS also, that is not our location, right? Definitely we'll have the encryption at that transit level we required. And after storing that data also we require that encryptions also we'll discuss. And that encryption keys AWS also provides. Some of the clients may not trust that AWS provided keys also. Then the customer also can create those keys. But if you don't make it anything also, by default, AWS is providing the keys using that AWS provided key management system. By default, the encryption is going to happen. Otherwise, what is going to happen is no one are going to use that encrypted data. 1 second. Yeah, sorry, got a call. Okay, so now here one more important feature is replication. What is the concept of the replication is once any of the object has been done, we can configure a replication policy. Then automatically the data can be moved from one storage to one region to another region. The replication can be given. But one of the important scenario they're asking is like cars, say everyone need to perform this hands-on. What is that meaning of cars is like I have one IAM user in one account. Okay, so I'm one user in one account. I want to access another account IAM. I want to access another account. So that is called as a cross origin resource sharing. So what is that concept of cross-origin resource sharing? Like one account developer want to access one S3 bucket that is in another account, or one instance in another region want to access that bucket. Okay, so that's how to give. That means I belongs to, say, suppose try to understand, I belongs to account A, but my S3 is in account B. I want to give the access. I want to give the access. So then that is called as like CORS
CORS.
access we need to give. CORS stands for cross origin resource sharing. This is also the mandatory question in every interview also. Okay, so they will try to confuse also, but you need to perform these hands-on also. Okay, so the next sessions we will do. Okay, so cross-origin resource sharing we need to perform. What is the advantage is, like I have one developer want to access other account S3 buckets for the processing or logging. Okay, those logs you want to check. Then we need to check the cars we need to access that. The cars we need to access. Okay, so what is the main advantage is inter account level or inter service level we can give, and CDN levels also we can give the access for those. Okay, so how to give this we'll discuss. And to the S3 bucket also, like we have lot of media kind of data. Okay, that media content may be images or maybe videos, CSS, all that loading time would be very slow. If it is maybe in the North Virginia, somewhere in the region, and Indian users want to access, but what we can do is we can attach with the CloudFront. Okay, so what is the CloudFront is a CDN solution from the AWS. Okay, so this scenario also we can do. So what we are doing is like whatever the data we have in the S3 is in one region, but if I use the CDN, what CloudFront will do is that will distribute all the traffic to all the CDN. Then whenever the users access that data, what is going to happen? It's not going to deliver from, it's not going to deliver from the S3 bucket. From where it is going to deliver?
CloudFront.
From the CloudFront. Okay, so then the cost of that also can be reduced with that. The overall cost of like S3 buckets also can be reduced because we no need to pay for the more usage. More hits comes to the S3, more retrievals, more access. But the same thing we can pay for the CDN also. The same thing we can pay for the CDN. With that, the overall cost can be reduced. Okay, so with that, the overall cost can be reduced by using the CDN also. Okay, so that CDN also we'll discuss. And coming to Route 53, if you come to the Route 53, 1 second. So before going for Route 53, definitely we required very good knowledge on the DNS. So we required very good knowledge on the DNS. What exactly the name of the DNS is? Suppose in the last 20 years, if you are using internet means indirectly we are using DNS itself. Okay, so DNS domain name system, like he is going to translate our easy, like human readable domain names to IP address. Okay, so there we can say, suppose we can't give the IP addresses of Google servers or YouTube servers to the users, then we are giving google.com, youtube.com, yahoo.com. So from that, it's going to be redirected to those IP address. And here we have the forward lookup. What is the forward lookup? Is convert the domain name into IP address. In the local environment, is the host name can be converted into IP address. And reverse lookup is called as reverse lookup is in the reverse lookup. What's happening is like we have the IP address back to that domain name. And in order to work with the domain, definitely we need to have the DNS records. Okay. So this is also mandatory interview questions. In every interview, DNS records would be asked. And if you don't know the DNS, forward lookup, reverse lookup, or NS lookup kind of commands, trace route, DNS records, we can't handle the route 53. Okay. So mandatory. Today spend lot of time on exactly what the DNS records are. So we need to have a very good knowledge on the DNS records. Okay, so by default, it's not only related to AWS, it's local DNS like Windows DNS or Linux DNS or AWS, Azure, GCP, or there are a lot of like GoDaddy also will provide the DNS. Any web hosting company also will provide the DNS. We need to understand those DNS records. And if I go for the A record, okay, A record is nothing but address record. So that is the IP address in the IPv4 format we need to tell. Suppose we have a domain, say, assume here we'll discuss nriglobe.com. If I go for the nriglobe.com, I have hosted that in one server. That address I'm going to tell as an A record. Then what is going to happen is, if someone type that address, it's going to be redirected to that
IP address.
IP address. So that is the purpose of we are using
A record.
A record. But I don't have the IPv4 address. In this scenario, I have a AAA record. If I have the IPv6, then we need to use AAA record. In which use case you'll use A record and which use case you'll use AAA record?
If we have IP4 address, we will be
IPv4,
using a record.
but we don't have the IPv4 address, IPv6. Then we are going to use
Yes, AA.
yeah, AA we can use. So AA we are going to use in that use case. Okay, then here we have one more important is when we created even in the AWS also one like a hosted zone kind of thing. What is that hosted zone? We'll discuss. Here we are going to get name servers. These name servers are called as authoritative name servers. And in AWS scenario, AWS is providing 4 name servers for us. Normally, that is technically is equal to 4 DNS servers kind of thing. But in that, we no need to create 4 DNS. Who is providing those?
Yeah.
Who is providing those? AWS
ASP.
itself is providing those DNS records. Okay, so that's we are going to use those name servers also, and we have one more record also. That means you no need to create these 2 records, name server and SOA. SOA stands for Startup Authority. In the Startup Authority, what is going to happen is like it's having all the meta information like who is the domain owner, domain register details. All those details are going to store the email ID. All these details we can store in the startup authority we are going to keep. Okay, so now in the AWS also, if you create any hosted zone, like here we are getting 2 record details. Those are name servers. And how many name servers AWS is providing for us? How many name servers AWS is providing?
4.
4 name servers in the geographical in the different regions they are providing. Even one region goes down also, the solution is highly available from the another region. Okay, so that is the advantage of using the 4 name servers. And startup authority meta information is going to be stored. Then there is one more record that is also very, very important for us. That record is called as pointer. Say, in order to work the reverse lookup, definitely we need to have a pointer. A record is mapping the domain name to IP address. But if you have a pointer record, even reverse lookup also is going to happen. The reverse lookup also is going to happen. So hence, in order to work your reverse lookup, what we need to do? Your reverse lookup to work, what we need to do? We need to add the pointer record also. We need to add that pointer record also. We need to add. Okay. So after this pointer record, say here we have one more important record we have is MX record. Say MX record is Exchange server. In your company, you may have the Exchange server for your mails, or SMTP server also we may have. Okay, so that SMTP or mail server details we are going to store in that mail server details we are going to store in the MX record. If you don't add a proper MX record, most of the Cloudflare or Google, these kind of servers will recognize that's maybe a spam kind of mail. It's a spam kind of mail. In order to avoid this one, what we need to do is definitely we need to have a MX record need to be added. And there is one more very, very important one, CNAME record. CNAME record is called as canonical name. Say if you have one domain, I want to redirect to another domain. Say this, we are acting as an alias kind of thing. For the alias kind of redirection, if you have one domain, I want to redirect to another domain, then I'm going to use
alias.
Okay, so alias we need to use it. Okay, so alias we need to use. Okay, so that is the main purpose we are going to use alias record also. Then remaining all not that much important. A or AA name servers, startup authority, pointers, MX, CNAME, sometimes text also may be there, which type of service, SRV, these also we'll discuss other services also. Okay, A record, say if someone type example.com, I want to redirect to that IP address, but it's IP before A record, and AA record is used for IPv6. CNAME is nothing but a canonical name for the alias one domain name. If I redirect, I want to redirect to another domain name. MX is mail exchange record. Pointer record is for reverse lookup. Then test record. Okay, so test record is very, very important. Say in order to prove our ownership of our domain. Say suppose I say to someone, you are the owner. Then they will tell, keep this test in your test record. Then I'll believe you are the owner of that domain. So now maybe in the Azure, I want to add my domain, or Azure Entra ID, Active Directory, I want to add my domain. So they need to verify you are the owner or not. For that, what they will do is they'll give one serial number kind of thing, or one string they'll give. That record we need to keep in the
text record.
In our test record, then that provider, like maybe Azure may verify that domain you are the owner or not. If that record is found, then they will verify, okay, you are the owner. The name servers, which are the authoritative name servers, what is the role of this authoritative name servers also we'll discuss. And here we have the location of LDAP, all that also we can add in the SRV record. Startup authority, meta information regarding that email details, all those also we are going to store. Okay, certificates also, we have the certificates, all these also we are going to store in CAA record. Okay, so naming, these are not that much important, but you can tell those records also. And very, very important, people will ask another question, or we should have also the basic knowledge is, if someone type, okay, said that like a domain name in the browser, like how it's going to work, because everyone are using the domain name, right? So if you type the domain name, okay, so this for tomorrow you come with your inputs. So these all the steps, right? Because this one everyone are using as of now every day. Okay, if someone type one domain name, how that internet works, like everyone need to explain. Okay, so these we need to, like how we are technically getting that domain name. Try to come with this. Okay, and how the DNS related commands also. NS lookup is a very, very important command. If I give the domain name, it's going to give that reverse lookup like that IP address, or NS lookup. If I give the IP address also, it's going to give the host name also. It's going to give. Then we have DIG, host. These all the different commands. All these also for the DNS we are going to use. Okay, so then like DIG is the powerful, and even NS lookup also very powerful command. Okay, and ipconfig/flush. Say if any of the old DNS itself you are getting, then the DNS you need to use the flush also, ipconfig/flush DNS. Okay. And how the routing, trace route to google.com, these also try to run, or trace RT in the Windows. Trace RT google.com, these commands all are related to DNS related commands we have. Okay, so these all we need to check. Then what exactly Route 53 is? So Route 53 is our like a DNS system. We can't maintain multiple DNS servers. Then AWS is providing those high available, high scalable DNS servers using the Route 53 service. And what is the concept of the Route 53? Why they kept the name as Route 53 is the DNS uses the port number 53. That is the reason they called as, okay, so DNS traffic, and route is used for the networking. Okay, so that's the reason they kept the name as Route 53. They kept the name. Okay, and what is ICANN? ICANN is nothing but we discussed already in the IP addresses. We can have the IANA is one organization. In the same way, all over the globe, in order to register the domain names, we are using GoDaddy. But GoDaddy is also one type of broker itself. Everyone will go to ICANN is one of the international organization which is responsible to provide the domain names. For everyone, they are going to provide the domain names, renewals, domain transfers, all those ICANN will take care. And whatever is maybe like GoDaddy, all these are the just the brokers for them. Okay, so then even in the Route 53 also, we can do the domain registration also, we can do DNS routing also, like main services DNS routing, and we have the routing policies, different routing policies we have. So these all the questions we'll ask. And one more question what they will ask is, what is the hosted zone? If you go to the hosted zone, one zone entries we are calling as hosted zone. That means I have one domain name. I said nriglobe.com. So this domain, whatever the records we have, that A record or double A, like that AAA record, or we have NS record, SOA record, MX record, or CNAME record. Okay, all these entries of one domain we are calling as hosted zone. So what is the concept of hosted zone here? One domain, all records we are calling as hosted zones, and we have two types of hosted zones. One is public hosted zone, and the second one is private hosted zone. In which use case we'll go for the public hosted zone is like we want to make it internet accessible kind of website. Then we need to keep a public only in the within the network within the VPC. I want to access. Then we are going to create the private. Okay, so that is the advantage of using public and private. Okay. So these all like how to create the hosted zones, all these also will discuss. And additional to this, it will do the health checking also. Okay, it will do the health checking. That means it's not only domain routing, it is doing lot of things. But most of the people are using for that like domain routing itself, we are going to do it. Okay. And what is this? This alias records also we need to understand. We'll discuss not only on the IP address is the traditional way. We may have a load balancer, we may have a CloudFront distribution, we may have S3 buckets or Kubernetes, containers, bean stack. In all those, we have deployed our application. We can deliver anything through this like API, through the alias record, we can add. So normal traditional way, what we used to tell is CNAME is, we used to call that as alias kind of record. But in AWS wise Route 53, CNAME is different, alias is different. What is the difference? In the tomorrow section, we'll understand. Okay, so there is a CNAME is not an alias kind of thing from the AWS Route 53. CNAME is separate record, or additionally they given one more feature called as alias. And mostly in the AWS we are going to use alias itself instead of a record. So a record is the traditional one. Okay. Any doubts? Any doubts?